Let's preview our game of the round thanks to Suncorp, building a more resilient Queensland. That's the Suncorp spirit. Rabbitohs v Panthers. Koloamatangi out. Michael Cheekham will start at second row. Isaac Thompson returns on the wing. For the Panthers, Scotty Sorensen replaces Liam Martin at second row. Lindsay Smith is the new man on the bench. How do you see this playing out, Smithy?
Yeah, no doubt. This is the game of the round. Rabbitohs, huge win last week, although took them a little bit to get going, Kempy. But, talking with Cody Walker post-game, it was the plan. It was the mindset that they took into that match against the Dolphins was that let's play long game. We're not trying to go out there and trick our way to early points. Let's try and just stick with them. They're going to apply pressure early to us, which they did. They started on fire, the Dolphins, but they just wore them down. Ended up scoring plenty in the end. And when they're in that form, the Bunnies, they look as good as any team of the comp. And on their day, you think, well, this is a team that could win this competition.
Yeah.
Like, they could beat Penrith. They could beat Melbourne. They could beat the Warriors, who are sitting top 4 at the moment. They can beat Cronulla. Like, all these sides that sort of everyone's sort of tossing up as premiership contenders. But on their day, like when they find their rhythm and they play with confidence, and particularly, Walker and Latrell Mitchell have heavy involvement, they're as good as any side. Coming up against the Panthers, they just know how to win. At the moment, they're not particularly playing their best footy. I don't think anyone would disagree with me there, but they just know how to win footy games. They get in these situations where close at the end, find a play that they need to find, score the points. They've got a great player in Nathan Cleary who doesn't get flustered in those tight situations. He can find field goals. He can find conversions or penalty goals when they're needed, and they just get it done. So this is a really tough one because if Penrith allow them, as I said before, if they allow the Rabbitohs a bit of momentum and give them that momentum and they can score a few points, they may be able to jag a win this week.
I find it really interesting, the comments from Cody Walker, as you just said when you spoke to him. Basically, it was a part of the plan. And it changes my view on the whole match now because I said on my podcast earlier this week, I was like, first half, I'm sitting there watching the Rabbitohs going, these guys are not premiership threats. Yeah, these aren't premiership threats.
I was thinking the same thing. Yep.
And then the second half, I'm going, oh my God, the Rabbitohs could win the comp.
Yep.
But it's interesting for Cody to come out and say, no, this was the plan. We stayed patient. I actually really like that because that's the one thing the Rabbitohs have really struggled with is they don't just get through their sets and build pressure.
Yep.
And so that's going to be interesting heading into the Penrith game because although Penrith have had that one absolutely brilliant game against Manly, outside of that, you're right. I don't really think they've been close to their best, and there has been some chinks in their armour. And I wonder whether Rabbitohs, if they can be patient enough, can exploit those. Because the difference between the Knights, and look, I understand the Panthers played one of their worst games. I mean, I think at one point they had 50% completion after like 30 minutes. It was terrible. But I wonder whether Rabbitohs take confidence from that and go, look, let's get in the grind with the Panthers because the difference between us and the Knights, we can put on points really quickly, quite easily. So the only thing going against the Rabbitohs at the moment, though, is you're going to have a very angry Panthers side going, hey, boys, that was not good enough. Wake up call.
Yeah, and if you think back to these guys they've played each other already this year. I think they played each other round 2, I think it was. And in that occasion, Penrith come away with a 16-10 victory. And those points that Penrith scored, they were scored early. So it's okay to have this mentality going into games about, playing the long game, really just trying to grind a match away. But remember who you're playing as well. And maybe if that tactic is the right tactic. We spoke earlier, Kempy, about Penrith and their defensive strength. They've conceded the least amount of points of any team in this competition this year. So they're pretty stingy. So when the Bunnies get their opportunities down in Penrith and this weekend, whether it be set starts or, loose ball turnover, whatever it is, that's when the likes of Cody Walker, Latrell Mitchell, Lachlan Ilias, who's having a fantastic season, Damien Cook as well, that's when they need to go to work.
Yeah.
They can't just think, we'll just get through our set. Maybe if an opportunity presents itself, hopefully we can get some points out of it. You need to be thinking, how are we going to pull this Panthers team apart? Because we need to get it'd be nice. It'd be a really good position to be in if you can apply some pressure on the scoreboard early to Penrith.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's, as you said, when you look back at their other game, it was the Rabbitohs that finished strong and were coming home, and it ended up being quite a close game. So cannot wait for the match of the round. Thanks to Suncorp. Make sure you're Queensland covered. Search Suncorp Insurance for a quote today. That's Suncorp Spirit. Now, on to the Eels versus the Broncos, Friday 8 p.m. at TIO Stadium in Darwin. Eels, Josh Hodgson makes a return from the flu. Brendan Hands moves to the bench. Makatoa, he drops out. Broncos, Flegler and Oates return to the side. Corey Jensen moves to the bench. Jesse Arthur's 18th man. Palacia moves to the reserves. How do you see this one playing out?
I'm going to back your boys again here.
Yes, Smithy.
Yeah. I've been a little bit critical of them over the past couple of weeks. Just some things I've seen in their game that they need to try and stay on top of. Of course, we talk about this a lot about winning. Sort of it masks a few deficiencies in your games at times, but you just got to be disciplined enough to stay on top of things. But a really strong victory the other night against the Titans. Couple of big ins, Tommy Flegler and Corey Oates. Like Corey Oates' form to start the year was outstanding.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking form of like getting picked on the wing for Queensland type of form.
Yep.
It was that kind of stuff. And he's come back. Has he only missed, 4 weeks? 5 weeks?
Mate, 5 max.
Yeah.
Hasn't been long.
Yeah.
Hasn't been long.
Yeah, like it's hasn't been long for that broken jaw, so he's a quick healer. So big in for them. I just think too strong up in Darwin. This one's in Darwin. It's going to be nice and warm. That's one thing we'll know. Josh Hodgson back for Para. Look, they played really well. We've been seeing some better football from Parramatta. Still though, just a little bit inconsistent for mine. Moses has been stronger since making that decision to sign on, and all that drama's out the way. He's certainly been playing better, but I just think the confidence that the Broncos are carrying at the moment, it'll get them across the line against Para.
This is going to be. I'm a bit on the fence with this one.
Hang on a minute,
because
what?
Obviously, I'm backing the Broncos. Let's just be clear. But if I'm the Eels, my game plan is, boys, all we have to do is complete it over 85%, and we'll win the game. I just can't see a world, unless obviously Broncos completed 85%.
Yeah.
But I can't see a world where if the Eels complete at 85%, they don't win the game, because Broncos have shown a tendency to go through halves and complete it like 60 to 65%.
Yep.
Last week, even with their win, it was just a 73% completion rate.
Yeah, that's right.
And they managed to do that against a Titans squad. And all the other teams they've played outside of Penrith, on paper, aren't as strong as this Eels side.
Yep.
So if I'm Brad Arthur and on the Eels players, I'm sitting down and going, boys, look on paper what we have. Look what's happened in the last 5 weeks with the Broncos. All we need to do is apply pressure by completing the ball and keeping it out of their hands.
Yeah.
And they can get the job done.
Yep.
On the flip side of that with the Broncos, it's almost the same message. It's look how good our roster is, guys.
Yeah.
Look what we did in the second half against the Titans. Let's just build pressure, please. Let's stop trying to score points. Like, for example, last week when I was watching the game, our first 3 sets down in the Gold Coast end.
Yep.
We ran it on the last and then Ricky forward pass. We knocked on. We did a poor offload. So 3 first sets we didn't complete in good ball. And so if I'm Kevy, I'm just saying, boys, first 10 sets of the game, let's complete at, 90%. Just for the first 10 sets. Lay ourselves a platform to win the match.
And it's going to be crucial, right? This game's being played in Darwin. It's going to be muggy. It's going to be sweaty. The ball's going to be really greasy. So you'd like to think that whoever holds the ball and finishes the game with the most completions, they should come away with the win. Although the Broncos, they've bucked that trend. Excuse the pun, buck, get it? Broncos. They've bucked that trend a couple of times this year where they've actually finished the game with the lower completion rate with the opposition, but just through their sheer brilliance, they've come up with some big plays to win the match. But certainly when you're playing against quality opposition like Parramatta, I think two things for Para, Kempy. One, they need to high completions, as you said. That'd go a long way to winning this game too. But they really need to take it to the starting ruck for Brisbane. They really need to take it to them. Payne Haas in fantastic form at the moment. Paddy Carrigan playing some good footy as well. Is Flegler going to start, or are they going to start him off the bench? Is he coming straight back into the starting side?
Jensen moves to the bench. So
there you go. So Flegler will go back in, and Flegler's a high energy, very aggressive, got great line speed, gets sort of builds momentum for the Broncos. If RCG, Junior Bolo, if those guys can really minimise the impact that those middle forwards have on the game early on, that will put them in a very good position to try and beat this Broncos side.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most mouth-watering forwards clashes you'll see all year. RCG, Junior Bolo versus Tom Flegler and Haas with Carrigan at 13. It just honestly does not get better than that.
Well, it's almost a preview to State of Origin. It's the New South Wales and Queensland sort of middle forwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Playing with and against each other, of course. So
let's talk about the Doggies versus Sharks Saturday, 5:30 at Accor Stadium. Jacob Carraz is out, replaced on the wing by Declan Casey. Averillo and Andrew Davey have been named despite suffering injuries last week. Kyle Flanagan has also been named at 5'8". Matty Burton named at 7. Sharks team news, no changes to the win against the Roosters last week. What do we think, Smithy?
Yeah, big move. Burton to halfback. I'll tell you, here's a little stat for you fellas. He's played halfback once in his career. That was in round 3 for Penrith in 2021 against the Storm. He wore number 19. So just his second game playing number 7. Of course, that's his role now is to steer this team around the park, which you don't typically sort of look at Matt Burton and think, well, he's a bloke that plays that role. He likes sort of standing a little bit wider, looks for opportunities out there, and when he wants the ball, he gets it. But interesting to see how that goes. Kyle Flanagan, of course, back in 6. No changes to the Sharkies. I think they'll be looking to win this game and win it well. Bulldogs have just been absolutely pulverised by injuries. Pulverised. Yeah. And, to the likes where, you're talking with, or hearing Cameron Ciraldo talk, the head coach of the Bulldogs, just saying he just has not seen anything like this in his career, both as a player and in his short career as a coach, where so many guys are out. They've still got a fairly strong forward pack. Like, let's not forget about that. They've got a pretty decent forward pack. Played a fair bit of NRL. There's a fair bit of NRL experience between the group that are starting in particular. Some younger guys off the bench, but I think with the form that the Sharks have shown us over the last sort of 3 weeks, particularly with Nico Hines back, I think they'll be looking to win this one quite well.
Yeah, I agree. It's the Sharkies got a lot of confidence from last week. I thought they played really, really well, especially the 12 points. I know that they had sin bins the Roosters, but it's just the defence that obviously we've spoken about week in, week out in regards to the Sharkies. It's just one of those games where you don't want to go into it thinking, the Doggies have got all these injuries. And I would, personally, if I'm a coach, I would rather the Sharkies win 8-0, 10-0, 12-0 than 34-16.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And so I hope that the Sharkies with this, their goal is really not about attack. They know they can score points. So let's not even really think about it. Let's just think about our only focus is our defence. With the Doggies, on the other hand, look, it's just a real opportunity to test yourself as a player and as an individual through a tough time. Challenge the players. Say, okay, yeah, we've got a bunch of players out, but do you all aspire to be first graders? Do you all aspire to be better over the next few years? Well, this is your chance. And I think the Doggies, although they've had some tough losses over the last week, I think they've been really gallant, especially for at least halves of footy. So I I think they'll trouble the Sharks at least for the. I think they'll give it to them for the first half, but I do think the Sharkies just be a bit too much for them.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I think the Sharks, their attitude for this one, they need to take this game on with a ruthless mentality, and just not worry about who's not there for the Dogs, and think about the inexperience and all this sort of stuff. Just turn up to this match like you're playing Penrith, or you're playing the Storm or the Rabbitohs or whoever it is that you feel as though is the benchmark of the competition, and play the game that you'd play against them, against these guys. Really do that. And there's some things that they haven't done so well over the last couple of weeks as well, although they've won a couple of games, the Sharkies. Like, they're 3-3. All right? The Dogs have actually won the same amount of games as the Sharkies have. They've both got the 3 wins. So don't as you said, mate, don't take this team too lightly. Go in there with that ruthless attitude as you would against some of the teams sitting on top of the ladder.
Yeah, and don't squander such a big win last week, because that's what you do if you lose. If you don't play well this week, the great win against Roosters means absolutely zero.
Yep, only good as your last effort, mate.
Absolutely. Now we'll head to the Cowboys night, Saturday, 7:35, Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Cowboys team news: Cotter replaces Jason Taumalolo at lock. Jordan McLean returns at prop. Jacob Granville moves to the bench. Knights team news: the great Kalen Ponga returns at 5'8" and will play his 100th NRL game. Tyson Gebel moves to the bench. Kurt Mann starts at lock. Croker moves to the bench. Brodie Jones is out. Jacob Saifidi returns for suspension on the bench. What do you reckon, Smithy?
This could be a season-defining game for the Cowboys.
Oh, mate,
I really think so. Like, they're sitting second last at the moment. Their big dog, Jason Taumalolo, their leader, he's out. Couple of good ins, though, of course. Jordan McLean, he's back. Been out for a little bit. I think hamstring or calf injury, I think he may have had. Ruben Cotter, he replaces Taumalolo at lock. He's just we all know what Ruben's about. He doesn't let you down every week.
Yep.
But the Knights, they've been, although losing last week to Penrith, they've been super impressive, particularly with the way they played with like that toughness. We've seen a bit of resilience about their football over the last couple of weeks, which I've been super impressed by. Led by, can I mention how good is Tyson Frizzell playing?
Oh,
like, Tyson Frizzell is just playing some wonderful footy at the moment. Another guy we had on the show only a couple of weeks ago. Just, I'm telling you, Tommy, they'll be knocking down the door to get on the captain's run. We've had to knock them back. We've got that many players asking to come on. But
the captain's run blessing rather than a curse.
Yeah, I know. They all want to be on this show. With the way this Knights side is playing, it is a danger game. Even with the Cowboys playing at home, it is a danger game. Absolute danger game for them. KP, great to see him back playing rugby league again, been out for several weeks. A lot of eyes will be on this game, just particularly to see how he travels. First game back from the concussion stuff that kept him out for a while. Funnily enough, or ironically, plays his 100th NRL game against the team where it all started for him, Kempy.
Wow.
At the Cows.
Yep.
So big one for him, going back up to the place he called home for a long, long time. With just going off recent form, I'm leaning towards Knights.
Mate, I'm with you.
I'm leaning towards Knights.
The people listen to Bloke Podcast hate me because I keep saying it. But I a couple of weeks ago, they played the Dolphins and they leaked in, I think it was like 12 to 16 points in the last 10 minutes.
Yep.
Anyway, on my podcast, I was like, look, it's just not good enough. It's disappointing, really disappointing performance. And there were a few Knights fans that felt, hang on a sec, like, we've had injuries and I think that the Knights have proven that they're much more than what we've given them credit for to start this year, especially last week. Even though their completion rate wasn't great, I think Adam O'Brien deserves a massive rap, because at the moment, when you look at the table, like they've been without Brayley, Ponga, all their stars. The Knights are currently sitting on 7 points. They are one win outside the 8.
Yep.
If you said right now for the Knights, they were full strength from round 1 to 7, and they were one win outside the 8, everyone would say that that's a pretty solid start from Adam O'Brien. He's managed to do that with an absolute schmozzle of injuries. And I think that they deserve a massive rap for their turnaround. over the last few weeks of showing not only grit, but I think they're showing identity now. They've just got this identity of they're building a new kind of, character there. So I really like what's happening at the Knights. I can't wait for them to be full strength. In regards to the Cowboys, it is absolutely now or never. If they can't get this job done, if they can't get a win, I just can't see them making the 8. And you can clip it up, and at the end of the year, if they're in the 8, I'm happy to say, mate, I'm more than happy to say, got it wrong.
Got it wrong.
Yep. But it's now or never for the Cowboys because, look, we're heading into what, round 8?
Yep.
They're going to lose Cotter. They're going to lose maybe Reece Robson. They're going to lose Nanai. So they're going to lose that on top of Dearden. Taumalolo will most likely still be out, at least for Origin 1.
Yep.
It's not going to get easier.
Val Holmes, Murray Tuolangi.
Yep. It is not going to get easier. And so you need to bank up wins now because not only has their draw not been that hard, the draw's going to get harder for them. And so it has to be now. It has to be now.
I agree with you, mate. It's such an important game for them. Just find some confidence. Get some confidence back. Get that winning feeling back.
Yeah.
And use not saying that, home field advantage is very different to what it used to be back in the day, right? Because they're going up there to Townsville. They're playing at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. It's a lovely brand new venue, flashy, shiny. So everyone's comfortable, right? Everyone's comfortable going and playing at these new stadiums, but they've got their home crowd there. Use that to your advantage, boys, and just try and get that feeling back of winning, what it's like, what you're doing well when you're winning. That's what it's all about. That's what the Cowboys need to find again.
And it's similar to what we said about the Dragons a few weeks ago. Like, I think the Cowboys, when you look at the stats and you actually look at their completion rate, it's actually pretty good. Like, it's actually decent. And so you go, they're doing they're ticking the boxes, which is good.
Yep.
But I guess they've got to sit there across from each other and say, boys, do we love what we do? Do we love let's just go out there and for 80 minutes, everything outside of that, it does not matter. Don't worry about training next week. Don't worry about anything. For 80 minutes, let's just love our footy together.
Yep.
It sounds really cliche and corny or whatever, but it really does come down to that.
Just go get it done.
Go get it done. We got the Dolphins v. the Titans Sunday, 2 p.m. at Suncorp Stadium. Dolphin team news. Felice Kofusi returns for suspended Kenny Bromwich. And Jared Wallace returns from concussion. Titans, AJ Brimson, the most arrogant man in rugby league, is named in the reserves. Jojo Fafita comes into the wing. Phil Sammy moves to the centres, and Aaron Schopp has been dropped. Thomas McKaylee and Cleese Haas are the new faces on the bench. What do you reckon about this one, Smithy?
What's going on with Brimo? Most arrogant.
He's a mate, and I just like to put it on. To be honest.
I love that. Most arrogant man in the game.
Yeah, 100%.
It seems like we're having derbies left, right, and centre with the new Queensland side, the Dolphins in the comp.
So good.
It's outstanding. Love it. At Suncorp and Sunday afternoon footy. How good is it playing Arvo footy? It'll be hopefully nice and dry. Actually, there's a little bit of rain around in Queensland, which hopefully it doesn't take away from this great contest because both teams, they don't mind throwing the footy around a little bit, and they've played in some high-scoring matches so far this year. The hitman, Felice Kofusi, he's back. He's back for the first time. He's been out for, it feels like half a year, but he returns for the Dolphins. I think they will get him back with open arms. Kenny Bromwich suspended. Jared Wallace back. I find it hard right now to go against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who they're playing. I just find it hard to say, look, they can't win because they just... I'll tell you what, like outside of Penrith, who have been doing it for a long, long time, when I look across the competition, I don't think there's any other side, as I said, outside of Penrith. When I watch them play, every player, they know exactly what the game plan is. Every player. It doesn't matter who they play against because they play a very, very similar style every week, no matter the opposition. Yeah. But they all know what the game plan is. They all know exactly what their role is in the footy side, and they just go out and do it. They go out and do it. And we talk about teams, completing and putting pressure on the opposition. That's what the Dolphins are actually quite good at. They're not going to beat you with, flash footy and all these, fandangle, like set plays and all that sort of stuff. Sure, they've got some game breakers in their footy side. That can do that. The hammer being one, Jermaine Asako, of course. Those two players, I think they're still atop of the NRL competition for tries scored. Certainly Jermaine Asako he's the top point scorer at the moment. But what they do is they will break you down. They will break you down through just continuous pressure, holding onto the footy, getting down the other end, making their tackles, helping their teammates out. So it's really hard to knock the Dolphins on that front. Whereas the Titans, they can be hit and miss. Absolutely hit and miss. Like I sat and watched the Titans play against the Melbourne Storm just as a fan in the stands down here at the Gold Coast. And, they had some patches through that game that weren't great. They were dropping the footy, they were making simple errors. But when they got their stuff together, they really gave the Storm some issues. And when you talk about Melbourne Storm, they're one of the best defensive teams in the comp as far as, the way they defend their structures and their systems, but they broke them down. So when they are like that, they're as good as most in the competition. But going off, consistency, I reckon the Dolphins will get this one.
Wow, Dolphins for the win. Oh, it's a tough one because I agree with you. The good thing about the Dolphins is like you know what you're going to get from them. And everyone's bought in. Everyone's bought in. With the Titans, one half a game, you'll get them dominating the Broncos, and then the next half, it's 36 points or whatever it was. I'm going to back the Titans because I have seen signs of improvement of that. They're still not obviously where I think they could be with their roster. I think Brimo being back does help them quite a bit. But what I love about the Dolphins is they've just sent such a strong message to the rest of the comp where this excuse of like, oh, we don't have the roster, it just really isn't. It's not feasible really anymore. Like this is a Dolphins side that it's got experienced veterans with some youth and it's had injuries in key positions. And yet, aside from one match, has always turned up and made it competitive. They've gone out and they've beaten the team that came third last year in the Cowboys. They've gone out and beaten the Roosters. So I love that. They almost remind you why you love rugby league, where it's a team sport. It's not an individual sport. It's about buying in. It's about being on the same game plan. And that's what the Dolphins have done this year. So I agree with you, mate. I love the pressure that they build. And they almost dare you. They almost dare you to say, we'll go all day. We dare you to try and beat us and make mistakes, and then we capitalise on it. So cannot wait for this match. Now on to the next one. Tigers versus Sea Eagles. Tigers had a bye last week. Adam Dewey out for the season. Naden out for 2 to 3 weeks. Bula makes his NRL debut at fullback. Staines moves to the wing. Kapoa goes to centre. Tommy Talau and Dane Laurie are the new players on the bench. Sea Eagles, Schuster, Garrick both return from injury. Ethan Bullymore starts at second row for Tuolangi. Samuela Fainu has been named on the bench for his NRL debut.
We'll have to get Tommy to check this, but what's the stat for teams post-bye? Off the top of my head, I think it's just Penrith have lost after the bye. I don't know if that's still intact. It is still correct. Intact. So I don't know. Is this the week we see the Tigers get their first win? Coming off a bye, of course. Big out though, Adam Dewey. You can't sort of forget about that. Out for the season. He's out for a long, long time actually. Brent Naden, of course, as well. Maybe that takes away from their point scoring opportunities. Manly were they were so good. They were so good last week, and you look at it and go, well, boys, like why can't you produce that every week? I just don't know. Like, can you only do it for half the year when you're playing at Brookie? And you hear all the players. Like I heard them talk post game last week about, Brookie being their fortress, and they love playing in front of their home fans. And when teams come here, they're going to pay. Well, boys, play that way away from home as well. because the last time I checked, like the NRL Grand Final will not be played at 4 Pines Park. You know, if you want to win the big ones, you got to be able to produce those same performances away from Brookvale. So I'm going to back Manly. I just think way too strong for Tigers. There's nothing that is sending me any sort of signs that they're going to be able to beat Manly this week, and particularly with a couple of big outs as well in their back line. I think this is a Manly victory.
Yeah, mate, this is a confusing one for the Tigers because I thought Charlie Staines was literally one of their best players last week. Oh, sorry, the week before.
Yeah.
And now he's been moved to the wing again.
Yep.
And so I just don't understand what is happening. And look, they clearly have way more information than me in regards to selections, and they know the players and rah-rah.
Yep.
But, you know, in the preseason, we heard whispers that Staines may be in front of Laurie to get the fullback position.
Yep.
Then Laurie starts at fullback. Then Dewey gets moved back there. And then Staines comes on the wing. And then Staines gets moved back there, plays really well. Now Staines has been moved to the wing, and they're going to debut another guy at fullback, Jarambula. And I'm just like, it's almost like they're getting in their own way. Like, just keep some players in key positions for longer than a few matches and build some combinations. Because, like, now it's like, all right, well, is the plan that Buller's your fullback for 2023? Are you going to keep him there? Like, I don't understand.
What's happened with Dane Laurie?
Just on the outer.
Just not in favour with the coaching staff. Because I thought he was he not one of their best players last year?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, it's a really confusing move. Like I thought if Charlie Staines was to be moved out of that position of fullback, I thought, well, Laurie just goes straight back there. That's the position that he's in right now at that football club, that they're naming a debutant in front of him.
After 5 or 6 losses.
Yeah.
You know, like
6.
Oh, mate, it's just I just don't and like you've got Tommy Talau and Laurie on the bench. So you got 2 outside backs on the why not keep Staines at fullback? Tommy Talau goes into the centre. Kapoa goes to the wing where he's anyway.
Maybe overthinking it. Possibly. Who knows, mate? It's hard. Like we speculate, right? Because we're not there. We're not at training. We don't know what's going on. But the obvious one from the outside looking in is you put Dane Laurie back there.
Yeah. If you're going to move Staines, like even though I thought Staines was great. Anyway, some quick text here, Smithy, that we like.
Yeah, we got a couple of good ones. This is from Mick in Margaret River, way over there in WA. Yeah, boys, someone is getting kafusied this weekend. Can't wait. And Mick is a Titans supporter. Love how he's hitting at the moment. Good on you, Mick, all the way from WA. Yep. And this one from Willow. This is a good one. Since Frizz was on the show, he's performed out of this world. Boys, I've got a date with a woman on Friday night. I need to get on your show ASAP because it seems like a great recipe to good performance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Willow. All the best, mate. I
love it. All the best, mate. Honestly, your guess is as good as mine when it comes to women, brother. Your guess is as good as mine.
Good luck. Hope it goes well Friday, mate.
Mate, let's get to the games. Roosters v Dragons, Anzac Day clash. Always a cracker. Obviously, Walker dropped. Manu to 5'8", Keary to halfback. Momorowski starts at centre. Crichton, Satili Tupanua have been named for their first games of 23. Nathan Brown is named in reserves. Could play his first game for the Roosters. Dragons, Murdoch-Masila starts at second row. Sewer is out. How do you see this game playing out, Smithy?
Well, always a big occasion, of course. This is Anzac game, traditional Anzac game. Roosters v Dragons in Sydney. Hope everyone has a really enjoyable match and enjoys the ceremonies at the start. Big game for both sides, different reasons. Roosters really need to get their season going. Like everyone talking about them being premiership contenders, haven't seen it from them since early rounds of the year. Couple of big names coming back. Angus Crichton, of course, great to see him fit and going well again. Satili Tupanua as well. We spoke about Sam Walker being out. Interested to see how Manu goes in the halves and what they do in the centres, whether it's Momorowski or Drew Hutchinson playing there. We'll probably see a late call made by Trent Robinson. For the Dragons, boys, just got to get out there and perform well. A lot of pressure on the club at the moment. There's a lot of pressure on your coach because of the results. And we spoke with Ben Hunt at the start of the year, didn't we, mate? And he spoke about how the playing group is right behind Anthony Griffin. Boys, get out there and perform well for your coach this week. That's all.
Yeah, mate, I totally agree in regards to the Dragons. You just got to get out. If you do love your coach and you do back him, unless you do something special this week, it's going to get tougher and tougher for him to be around, unfortunately. In regards to the Roosters, it's got to start soon. Yes, they've put themselves in a good position to make that top four, but, you know, the Roosters have to make the top four this year if they want to win the comp. It's really... Now, they're anonymous. They may be the first team ever to win outside the eight, and I think you go back like maybe 20 years to the last time it happens. But statistically speaking, you've got to be the top four. So Roosters, if I'm the Roosters players and coach or whatever, let's go out and make a statement game. What do you think about Storm v. the Warriors?
Well, I was lucky enough to play in many of these games. The Anzac game, obviously, in Melbourne, and they do such a great job, the Melbourne Storm, at Amy Park, presenting this game, particularly all the pre-game ceremonies. They turn the lights off and both teams walk out. Look, I think this is going to be a ripping game. This could be close to the match of the round, I believe, with the form that the Warriors in right now. Storm, they're looking to bounce back from a performance that they weren't great. Munster back to 6, I think, will help. Look, I'm going to back my old team, the Storm, but I think this will be a really close one, Kempy. Wouldn't surprise me if it goes all the way to Golden Point.
Yeah, look, I'm going to back Storm, but I tell you what, if Warriors want to send a message that we're legit, the real deal, could you imagine? Now, what is your sure thing for the week? Brought to you by Sure Hire.
Sure thing. Mate, I'm going to go Manly.
You're going to go, that was going to be mine. How dare you, sir?
And that's soft.
Okay.
That's soft.
So the temporary work experts, surehire.com.au. Sure Hire, Australia's most complete shoring, propping, and traffic product. I am going to go my sure thing, the Roosters.
Oh, the Roosters.
Yeah, I'm going the Roosters. Look,
Tommy's just dropped their head.
Yeah, put the mock on them. Let's go. Put the mock on them.
You'll be right, Tommy. Come on, mate.